Hey guys, it's your favorite Dinobot here, and sorry this took so long, but again, it's obviously a very long video, right? So today we're going to see, can Tyranitar beat the Monsterverse? So without further ado, let's obviously explain the rules here. So we're going to be looking at Tyranitar from a composite standpoint because, I'm going to be real with y'all, there's a lot of versions of Tyranitar that are either strong, weak, or just don't get enough feats for themselves here. So we're going to be looking at a composite Tyranitar, meaning both trained and untrained or wild here. And yeah, we're not going to use the iron versions or the paradox versions of him. So yeah, we're going to be using him, and we're going to be putting him at the same size as Monsterverse Godzilla, which is around the 300 and I think 93 feet as of now. Well, maybe not his Godzilla Evolved state. That's probably a bit bigger. But again, 393 feet as of his current base level, form of stuff here. We're going to be switching him out with Godzilla for every match here. And if you guys would like to see another version of this, maybe with Rillaboom or Infernate, please let me know in the comment section down below, or I would just go and make a voting poll, as I'm still just trying to figure out the last 3 videos I want for this superhero section before we move on to the versus section, alright? Because again, I want to have a certain number of videos for each section, and all that good stuff here. So we'll be using, again, a composite Tyranitar at the same size as Godzilla, replacing Godzilla in every scenario here. And we'll also be giving him Godzilla's help when he has it. We'll also be giving him every moveset or every attack that he's ever owned. And keep in mind, Tyranitar can actually use a very good plethora of moves here. Now, being a rock and dark type, he is especially vulnerable to fighting, water, grass, ground, steel, and apparently fairy. Fairy just decimates everything now, doesn't it? It's insane, ain't it? But again, Tyranitar can actually use a plethora of moves here. He has Fire, Flamethrower, Fire Fang. He can actually use Ice Fang. He can also use Surf. Yeah, I know it's absolutely insane. He can actually use Surf here. Or again, you could teach him to use Surf here. He also has Thunder Fang, Thunder Wave, and Mud Shot, Icy Wind, and stuff. So, dude can use Ice, Fire, Electricity, Ground, Rock, and even Steel type moves. So, it's absolutely insane. He can also use Rest, which is a Psychic type move and stuff like that there. And he just he has just about everything he needs. Like, dude can drop your stats. He can increase his own. He just has everything he really needs just to decimate his opponents here. So, in all honesty, he's just going to be going through the Monsterverse in the exact same order we saw Godzilla go through it here. And I guess I might be missing a couple comics here, but Shinomoru as well here. Um, and yeah, we'll also be using the comics because, again, that does tie into the timeline of the Monsterverse. Albeit, I know some people say that some of these comics aren't canon, but again, some of these people really don't even look at the Monsterverse other than the movies. So I I don't really trust them all like that. I only trust a few people, and they're the homies, all right? I trust the homies on Discord with that. Now, again, Tyranitar scaling is very important here, but with a composite Tyranitar, you can actually scale him off the ones that basically have harmed legendary Pokemon, specifically the likes of Mewtwo. Yeah, there was a Tyranitar that was actually able to harm a Mega Mewtwo Y, which is absolutely no joke here. And then you have the manga, where Tyranitar is again stated to be one of the strongest Pokemon out there. And considering the fact that Tyranitar should be the strongest of the Johto lineage when it comes to Pokemon, and again, this is excluding legendaries because he's a pseudo legendary, meaning he's close to those levels, but not exactly there. You could easily say that with a trained Tyranitar being able to harm Mewtwo, who's planetary, I mean, you can get them planetary to even solar system level with that kind of scaling and stuff like that there. And even, star level and stuff like that. You have a plethora of ways to scale Tyranitar from planetary to star level. And again, remember, we're using a composite format for Tyranitar with all of his moves, all of his abilities. and we're going to be putting him through the same situations Godzilla has, except he's going to be at full strength for each one, because again, it's only fair. I don't think a weakened Pokemon is in the same caliber as a weakened Godzilla. It's just not fair. But let's actually begin here, and let's start off with the MUTOs. Now, the MUTOs, both male and female. Yeah, he's got this. He just has this all together. Now, keep in mind, Tyranitar's main ability is called Sandstream, which means he can cause a sandstorm that over time will chip away at his opponents and actually cause massive amounts of damage for them over and over again throughout the time period of the battle. Meaning that their health is basically getting their health is basically getting chipped away per each turn or each time in the match here. And again, keep in mind, we're basing this off a kind of like a wild Tyranitar, but again, it has all of its composite stats here, meaning it's trained and everything, stuff like that there. So again, yeah, we got a formidable Tyranitar here. And with the Sandstream ability being activated and it being able to cover a massive range, and keep in mind, again, all of Tyranitar's attacks are pretty much upscaled here, or are pretty much enhanced by its size now. It's the same size as Monsterverse Godzilla. There's no way you're telling me that these attacks are going to be on a whole nother scale. The explosions, the destructive capability, and everything, all right? So this means Tyranitar could easily get in close and just straight up pretty much just maul the female MUTO here. And considering the sheer fact he may even mistake the male MUTO for a flying type, this means he's going to use things like Rock Slide, Stone Edge, Thunder Wave, and it could even use Flamethrower to give the same kiss of death Godzilla did to the female MUTO with utter ease here. Meaning that Tyranitar is gonna just pretty much bulldoze through the MUTOs because of its sheer hacks and abilities. As a matter of fact, it may sound like this for the rest of the video. Because again, we have to also account for that giving Tyranitar all his powers, abilities, and stats just simply makes him a whole unit altogether. Now you might say, oh, what about the EMP? What about the ability they had to weaken Godzilla? And again, keep in mind, Tyranitar isn't Godzilla. Like, there's no comparison between the two at all. Tyranitar is an entirely different thing than Godzilla. And keep in mind, the MUTOs were specifically designed to fight against Godzilla, which does hurt them when it comes to actual versus situations here. And in all honesty, if the male MUTO got killed by simply being impaled by a building, well, Godzilla slamming him into a building, Tyranitar's tail, coupled with its own spikes, will basically be swinging it like a Stegosaurus would against an Allosaurus here. Basically, one strike from that tail, not only is a building spike going through it, but Tyranitar's tail spike is going through it. Next up, we have the Ion Dragon, and I'm not sure if Godzilla fights him before or after the MUTO Prime, but let's just put him here because, again, he is pretty much easy to deal with for him. And again, there's really no reason why the Ion Dragon would be able to give any trouble here. He's going to get treated like a flying type, so it's going to get hit with things like electricity, fire, ice. Again, he can use Icy Wind, so that means he could probably freeze him as well and just straight up nuke him afterwards with likely a Hyper Beam or something here. Or again, he could do what Godzilla just did and just rip him apart. Just like that. It's absolutely nothing at that point. It's it's not looking good for the Ion Dragon here. I mean, I don't even understand how this creature even tried to fight Godzilla, in all honesty. It was kind of like one of the dumbest things I'd ever seen. But again, desperation, hunger, and a plethora of other factors you could possibly also state the Ion Dragon was going through, yeah, could drive some monsters to do things that normally they probably wouldn't even do. But again, we don't know these monsters' mindsets all like that here. So, yeah, he's decimating the Ion Dragon like it's nothing. I don't really think there's any reason to think that, you know, Tyranitar would lose here. But next up, we do have the MUTO Prime. And unfortunately, just like the MUTOs, yeah, Tyranitar definitely gets by this pretty easily. And the reason why is because MUTO Prime is just simply using things like, I guess you could honestly say like rock and ground type attacks. So it's Tyranitar's bread and butter. So imagine if it uses like Surf or something that, oh my god, that I still can't believe it can actually learn that. That's probably like the funniest part about it. Like you have a water type move in your arsenal and you're supposed to be weak to water types. I don't get it at all. Surf is definitely is one of the most broken moves of all time though, but it is what it is here. So you might ask, what about the Sonic Scream and stuff like that? Now, keep in mind, Tyranitar can also use Screech, which, as we saw in the Pokemon anime, if you guys remember Ash's battle with Byron and Rourke, that move is pretty effective. It does lower the opponent's stats, but it also can cause damage or be used as a physically damaging attack here. So this means that, well, he can lower the MUTO stats and cause damage to it at the same time. So this means that the MUTO Prime is essentially done. Like, there's really nothing it can do about it. Like, I'm being so serious right now. The MUTO Prime really has nothing to really get or to even harm the likes of Tyranitar here in this kind of situation. I mean, one well-placed hyper beam, or maybe even its own earthquakes can actually be used against it here. So in all honesty, it's done for. Now let's move on to the first fight with Ghidorah, which takes place in the Arctic. Now again, Tyranitar doesn't have a problem with the cold here, and we also have to account for its sand stream ability being able to protect it. Now, this will actually be pretty interesting with Ghidorah's whole storm ability, and with it being able to use its own storm in combination with the sand stream. Like, how would that... excuse me. What I'm trying to say here is, how would this sand stream of Tyranitar mix in with the storm of Ghidorah? What would that actually create? Would it create like a superstorm? Would it create like something so unnatural and so unholy that it would probably make everything worse for the environment? Would it damage both of them? I don't know. It would actually be some crazy stuff there, especially again with all of Tyranitar's attacks being upscaled or basically on a pretty much on a whole different size level or lower. You guys get what I mean. Basically every attack gets upscaled in size, attack potency, and power now because of how big it is. And again, Tyranitar really doesn't have a reason to lose in the Arctic because this Ghidorah just woke up and it's not even at full strength. Like, he's been frozen for quite a long time and he's weakened here still. And keep in mind, yeah, Shimo froze Ghidorah. That's been confirmed now. So, yeah, he got froze by another Alpha Titan. So again, his strength wouldn't be the same as it used to. And again, when we go to the Boston fight, this goes a whole lot differently here. And I can actually see Ghidorah's Rain being used against him here. Now, I wouldn't say Tyranitar uses Thunder Fang to pretty much try to use Thunder Fang on a giant electrical conductor here. But again, it's very possible that it might, seeing that the Rain, knowing that Thunder actually has a 100% chance to hit while it's in rain. Yes, that is actually a whole thing in Pokemon. If it's raining and your Pokemon has Thunder, you have a 100% chance to actually hit with it. So, yeah, that's actually pretty insane here. And keep in mind, Tyranitar can also do Rain Dance. So, again, it's absolutely insane the amount of moves you can actually teach a Tyranitar. It really is here. But again, when it comes to what Tyranitar can do against Ghidorah, I don't think he really has too many limited options. I think in a close quarters fight, Tyranitar is beating Ghidorah. I mean, he's got every, close quarters move, Shadow Claw, Dark Pulse and stuff like that. He's got Fire Fang, Ice Fang. As a matter of fact, those two moves will definitely come in handy when Ghidorah tries to lift him up in the atmosphere and goes to try and drop him. I can actually see Tyranitar being able to rip off Ghidorah's head with being able to use a Fire Fang and probably even going for the head that's trying to restrain and hold him here. It's very possible Tyranitar may also use a smackdown mid-air to basically damage and decimate Ghidorah. But let's say Ghidorah is still able to drop him. Remember, Tyranitar still has Godzilla's allies to help him out. And again, this means the whole Mothra and Tyranitar incident does happen. Now you might say, Legendary, why are you not addressing the water fight? It's because we've never seen Tyranitar actually go ahead and swim in water. We do know some rock types can swim. We do know, but we don't know Tyranitar is one of them. So I'm not going to really address the Arctic, or at least the the ocean fight with Godzilla and Ghidorah, because again, I guess the Argo is just going to have to die on that one. So unfortunately, yeah, that means the Argo and Monarch and everyone on there just dies. But again, in the final battle, Tyranitar likely gets Mothra energy and uses it to Mega Evolve, beating Ghidorah. So, yeah, he would definitely be able to progress, albeit high difficulty. Now, let's go to another one, Amhuluk. This one's going to be a low difficulty. Amhuluk basically bowed to Godzilla out of the fear that Godzilla would be able to burn him, which again is a very good, reason to not fight Godzilla when you're a giant plant monster. Now, again, this would be very simple here. Not sure if he would do it for Tyranitar because he's a Pokemon instead of a Titan. But again, even if he doesn't, flamethrower. That's it. That's all he needs. Tyranitar burns him to a crisp, or again, Amhuluk sees the fire, and he would just pretty much bow. And that would be it. So it's it would be over just like that. Now next off, let's move with Tiamat. Now again, we'll say that Tyranitar gets there via surf, or pretty much surfing on the water and stuff. Now that would actually be pretty interesting. Him using surf the entire way and making his way to the same area where Godzilla was, only to be snatched underwater. Now again, we do know Tyranitar could at least sustain itself in underwater combat like all other Pokemon. And this is where Tyranitar would likely get desperate and immediately hit him with a Thunder Wave or a Thunder Fang. Any electrical type moves that it has, like Thunder, Thunder Punch, Thunder Fang, Thunder Wave, yeah, it's going to use that automatically on Tiamat, frying it, getting itself out of the water, and going to its new territory, or its new home. Now let's move on to the next movie, and yeah, that is Kong. So with Kong and the whole axe thing, we're just gonna skip the water fight entirely. That means Kong does make it to the Hollow Earth. And I'm sorry, I forgot about the Nikika incident. Yeah, it kind of sucks, but Nikika's probably gonna get captured by these humans, or Monarch simply steps in to handle it. So yeah, Nikika probably gets free, but also probably gets captured. Now back to Kong. Now this fight actually plays out differently because again, Kong does not have a way to charge the axe here. Yes, it's made of a Godzilla scale. It is made to absorb radioactive energy, but Tyranitar has none of that. And with Tyranitar being the same size as Kong, yeah, it's over. It's pretty much GG. This is likely where Tyranitar just doesn't really bother with Kong, and likely uses a sand trap, or a sand tomb, excuse me. And using that to kind of just get Kong out of the way here, and likely just having Kong probably stuck in there until he feels like, letting him out here. Plus, again, the sandstorm would be on a whole nother level. And then if Kong does manage to avoid the sand trap or the sand tomb here, which he probably will, Tyranitar has way too many close quarters combat means with its jaws and its claws to actually be able to lose to Kong. He has way too much to be losing to Kong at this kind of stage here. And again, I should probably have to remind y'all, this is a Tyranitar with all of its moves and abilities that it learns and that it already has. So basically, again, it has every move that it has, pretty much every move that it has or ever will have in the book here. And again, when we go to the MechaGodzilla part, this just gets substantially worse. Because again, MechaGodzilla's only best feat is overpowering a tired, exhausted, and near-death experienced Godzilla and Kong. I mean, it was even said by the director, hey, if Godzilla was at full strength, none of this would have been happening. So you got the director himself saying that, look, if Godzilla wasn't tired, he would have decimated MechaGodzilla here. This means that not only would Tyranitar have more moves, or 10 times that of the versatility of any monster in the Monsterverse, but he would actually be able to overpower everything MechaGodzilla does, because again of the composite scaling, him scaling to Mewtwo and stuff like that. Now again, pretty much the Monsterverse, I should have said this earlier, does scale to around planet to dwarf star level pretty easily, because again, they do have things very similar to that of a black hole. Now, again, only similar. But again, Tyranitar should be able to decimate, because again, MechaGodzilla really doesn't have too many solid feats to stand on. Now, next off, we have Godzilla x Kong, the New Empire, and we're starting off with the Amped Scylla. Now, again, I don't think a lot of people realize this. Godzilla washed an Amped Scylla and an Amped Tiamat. Now, again, Scylla's not a problem, because again, all Godzilla did was just pretty much bull rush Tiamat, stagger her, and then grab and throw her. Tyranitar is far faster, with him scaling to, faster than light. I think that's pretty simple, because every Pokemon can actually react to things like Solar Beam, and Psybeam, which are again light speed based attacks. So yeah, it's kind of over for Scylla, and I think Scylla would be like blindsided by Tyranitar speed. As a matter of fact, everyone on this list previously would be blindsided by Tyranitar speed. Even Ghidorah to a certain degree here, and even Kong to a certain degree. Yes, you could easily get them to faster than light themselves here by scaling them off of Godzilla's radiation, which is compared to Cherekov radiation, and I hope I'm saying that right here. And you can even get that to like light speed, and anyone reacting to that should be, somewhat faster than light here. But again, with Scylla and with Tiamat, he can simply fry them with either the flamethrower on land, or with Tiamat, a much more evolved and amped Tiamat here. Yeah, Thunder Punch, Thunder Fang, Thunder, it's going to be the same case. Maybe, Tiamat gets some cuts in with her scales, but other than that, that's about it. Now, let's go with Beasticle of Kong. Now, I originally had this fight as a high difficulty, but yeah, here's the thing. The fight that Beast Kong participates in is in Egypt, and we're giving him a Pokemon that could literally manipulate sandstorms. Oh boy, this poor Kong. Because, think about it. Tyranitar steps foot or crawls out of whatever area he wants to, right? And automatically is going to send a sandstorm throughout that entire country or entire state of Egypt. That's going to be the world's biggest sandstorm. No human is surviving that. And again, we've seen evidence of sandstorms burying cities with Flygon. So imagine a Tyranitar the size of Godzilla, Monsterverse Godzilla, and he's straight up burying Kong in this. Like, there's no way. Now again, Kong would eventually get saved by Mothra, who uses her God Race to blow apart the sandstorm and to knock back Tyranitar here. Kong and Tyranitar, team up. You might say, would I say Tyranitar gets the evolved state? No. Let's just say it's Mega Evolution. And they go to fight Scar King and Shimo. Let's say everything plays out like that here, with Tyranitar using its own versatility to launch itself through the air. But then we get the final battle, and it's going against Shimo, stalling out for Kong to find a way to free it. And I think this pretty much goes the same, except with Tyranitar's greater speed, more mobile versatility, I don't think Shimo's getting a hit in, unless Tyranitar stays way too close for way too long here. But again, it has way too many fire type and fire-based attacks to actually be losing to Shimo here. So, yeah, with that being said here, he gets this done. And again, Shimo's free. Kong goes back to the Hollow Earth with Zuko, and that's about it. Now, you might say, how would he fare against Scar King? And I'm going to have to ask y'all, are y'all serious? Like, really, are y'all serious right now? Do y'all not think Tyranitar at the same size as Godzilla would be able to handle Scar King. Yeah, pack it up and get out of here. But anyway, that's going to be all for today. You guys, please comment down below, like and subscribe and share it to friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I am going to get a drink because this video took very long. Peace.